Finally, one other thing among the Intelligence Committee is, as Will mentioned, and that is one of the most important things that we can do. Napoleon, I love it on the budget, once Gary, they came in and presented the budget to the intelligence community, to the Intelligence Committee. It was a big, thick document. The first page was blank, except for a quote. It was a quote from Napoleon, who once said that a well-placed spy is worth 2 divisions. That was the front page. Well, today, accurate intelligence could save an American city, or prevent an unnecessary war, as in the case of Iraq. That's how important accurate, timely intelligence is. We are very good at what they call kinetic action, which is a euphemism for actually, taking military action or killing people. We're very good at that. But you can't take out the bad guys unless you know where they are. Osama bin Laden is the foremost case in point. So, accurate intelligence is at a premium in the world in which we live in today, the kind of threats we meet, and there are still way too many examples where we simply do not know enough about the grave threats that face our country, where our leading intelligence experts come into us and they say they simply do not know. Blank spaces, not enough information, ambiguous information, irresolvable conflicts in the information, these sorts of things. So we need to continue to focus on the improvement of our intelligence capabilities because that in some way drives everything else. Final 2 things I'd say are this. All this tactical stuff you can get right. If you have your strategy wrong, it's not going to avail you much at the end of the day. And we face major strategic challenges to our country that have been ignored or in fact exacerbated by this administration over the last 7 years. We cannot separate our nation's national security interests and our power from our economic well-being, our financial strength, and from our energy security. These things are inherently bound up one into the other. Just take energy, for example, which is the reason I'm going to have to leave. We're finally having an energy summit down here on the Hill. Over the next 10 years, even an oil man like T. Boone Pickens is now saying that over the next 10 years we will have the largest transfer of wealth in the history of the world, going from our country abroad to the producers of petroleum and natural gas. And a lot of it's going to people who don't wish us well, like Hugo Chavez. This is unsustainable. It is a major national security issue. We have to focus on this as if it were a direct military threat to our country. And yet that sense of urgency has been lacking. I hope we can achieve it and harness it yet again. Trade imbalances, you can sustain them at 2%, maybe 3%. It's up at 5, 6, 7%. This is not sustainable. We sell off a piece of America each and every year to sustain consumption at a level greater than our production. You can't do this without grave consequences to your national security interests, because financial power, economic power, inextricably bound up with national security interests and power. I'll leave you with this comment. We have to have the ability to remove bad people when they threaten to kill Americans. That is essential. That's what national security, at the end of the day, once they've exhausted every other alternative, we have to have that capability. But we're not going to be able to kill all of the bad guys. We have to try and prevent them from being created in the first place. And we're going to need allies to help us get that job done. So in some ways, this is a struggle of ideas. Now, we're helped by the fact that our adversaries' ideas are not very compelling. They return to a medieval view of radical Islam, in which women have no rights, there are no political rights, the economy is stilted. This is not a very compelling vision of the future. Narrow appeals to strident nationalism or appeals to ethnic groupings. This is not a very compelling vision of a more prosperous, forward-moving world. So our adversaries don't really have a very compelling worldview. But we've not given nearly as much thought to who we are and what we have to offer and what narrative we can offer to other people struggling to realize their own aspirations about the world and explain to them why they should stand on our side, why it is in their interest to join with America in advancing our view of a better, more prosperous, more just world. This is probably the single most important thing we can do. So as descendants of enlightened thinking, I would offer a speech that Tony Blair gave to a joint session of Congress a few years ago. If we stand for freedom in all of its manifestations, the freedom to enjoy the fruits of your own labor, the freedom to have your say and speak your mind, the freedom to worship God as you see fit, the freedom to associate people of your own choosing, the freedom to choose your own political leaders. This is a powerful force in human history and a powerful force in human nature. It puts us on the right side of those phenomena rather than against them. And if we can explain to people how harnessing the free flows of capital, of ideas, of technology will enable them to live more prosperous, more fulfilling lives, that puts us on the side of their aspirations and not just our own. And articulating that kind of view of the world is probably the single most important national security step we can take, because it puts us squarely on the right side of human nature and human history. And we've not given nearly enough thinking to that, although these last 7 years, and now the time has come to